For more episodes of the Games4all podcast, check out our website, www.games4allpodcast.com.
You can also follow us at twitter.com/Games4all, or check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Games4all podcast.
The Games4all podcast is brought to you in association with HostGator. For all your web host needs, check out hostgator.com. Hello and welcome to the Games4all podcast, episode 54. I'm your host Dan Young, and with me as always is my good friend
James Craigie.
Now, welcome to part one of our three-part E3 2011 special. Everything kicked off yesterday morning over in the States. It was more evening to us, but they had 4 press conferences in one day, so there's a lot to talk about. We're going to cover as much of it as we possibly can. So that covers today's show. Tomorrow we're doing part 2 of our E3 coverage, which is primarily going to focus on Nintendo's press conference.
That's the only one we haven't seen yet.
Yep, and then on the third day of Christmas, on the third day of E3, on the Thursday, we are going to be pretty much talking about all the games that we've seen footage of, trailers, gameplay demos.
Basically go into more detail about the ones we're excited about.
Indeed, and then talk about the kind of wrap it up overall, and then, so far it seems like they've hit the ground running. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, so we're gonna talk about that now. First up, Microsoft, okay?
Yep. It was the first conference of the show.
Yeah, it makes sense to talk about it first. Well, they started off with Modern Warfare 3, which we kind of knew, we kind of had an inkling that was kind of going to be the case, because obviously last year it was Black Ops, and I think the year before that, I don't know if they started off with Modern Warfare 2, I can't remember, but it definitely featured quite heavily in their conference. To be honest with you, I mean, I'm excited for this game, as many people are.
But as we all know, there's competition on the horizon.
Indeed.
Which we'll go into later.
Yeah, in the form of Battlefield 3, but like you said, we'll talk about that later. To me, it wasn't a very impressive demo. It looked great. It looked fun. I will buy this and play this and enjoy it, I'm sure. I love the Modern Warfare Call of Duties, as do many people. And to me, it started off as an underwater, attach a bomb to a sub.
Yeah, thing is, I think they could have found something to kind of utilise the time better, because you spent a lot of time just watching.
It really did
going
seem to.
through the
yeah,
water,
it was. It didn't seem like.
Didn't really pick up towards the end.
No. And then you kind of, you breach the sub. You kind of shoot some people. It was standard kind of paint by numbers Call of Duty stuff. And like I said to you when we watched it, like it seemed like you could take any of these action sequences and throw them into any of the other Modern Warfare games, and it would just fit. Kind of thing. So it's kind of, but. I think overall what they wanted to try and get across was the scale of the war, because obviously there's these big long shots of New York being
Manhattan.
It looks like Modern Warfare. The engine doesn't seem to have had many upgrades. I'd say like some of the motion capture looked a little bit better, but
there's a couple little
tiny little
polishes and stuff.
Nothing too much, but they kind of they did make a big deal out of it recently, sort of talking about how they've upgraded the engine and stuff, and I didn't really see much of that, to be honest, but it looks fine.
You can see there is a slight improvement, but it's, like I said, there's other stuff.
I mean, definitely. It looks fine. It looks very playable. It looks probably better than I would have expected it to, considering the circumstances, with Infinity Ward being split up and, other teams coming in to work on it and stuff, and the kind of overall Modern Warfare 3 was it was a bit uncertain whether it was going to happen this year, but, it's definitely gonna. So that's coming out November 8th. We've talked about it enough from the show already. I mean, the E3 footage is available online to watch just about anywhere, and we keep putting trailers and stuff up on our Facebook, so facebook.com/Games4all podcast to check some of them out. Obviously, they made a big point at the end of it about the add-ons for 360 are going to be available first. Like, they have about a 3 to 6 month exclusive window, which was announced last year for the next 3 years. So this game, the next Call of Duty game, will have that. But it's shaping up to be okay. I mean, I can't say too much more about it. I mean, there are other demos being shown off at E3, which we'll probably end up talking about on the final show, but it looked fine. Not majorly impressed, but I'm still going to play this, so that's just my opinion on it.
It's one of those things where you know what it's about, you know what's going to happen. So in that case, you can't really sort of get excited about it because
I think
you know
the main problem is it doesn't appear at this point to be doing anything different that's pushing the genre at all, and that's a bit of an issue for me. But it's still better than the majority of first-person shooters out there, and so therefore, by default, it is going to be very popular. I mean, pre-orders for this for Modern Warfare 3 have already outnumbered Black Ops at this point, so that's quite scary. But the next game they showed off, which to me was a huge surprise.
Yeah, I think this is going to be your big surprise of the show.
Yeah, quite literally. I mean, trailers for this came out, recently.
Yeah, I remember telling you about it, and your exact words were, I think, well, I'm not that bothered.
Wasn't that fussed at the time, and then they showed Tomb Raider. I mean, they come on and say, hey, show some Tomb Raider. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, show us Tomb Raider. And yeah, I mean, this is a good example of a reboot that works, in my opinion. It's like, for start, it looks amazing. It looks gorgeous, and like it's a darker, grittier, slightly more realistic kind of take on the Tomb Raider universe, and like they've kind of slightly desexualized the main character of Lara Croft a little bit.
I think, in a way, made her more sexy, but there you go.
Yeah, actually, if I'm honest, she's slightly more attractive than but hey,
but it's kind of. I think I said this to you after we saw it. It's kind of done for the Tomb Raider series what Chris Nolan did for the Batman series. It's taken all sort of like the campiness out of it and giving it like dark, gritty, and
it's working for it. I really am excited for this now. I was not before. This demo changed that 4 minutes, or whatever, just totally blew my mind, and I now want this game so bad, and that is awesome. It's and you can kind of tell what they've tried to do with. I think it was Tomb Raider Underworld was trying to go straight for Uncharted, because with slightly better graphics and stuff, it didn't really work out. But this game is kind of This is like, right, we were here first. We're pissed off now. We're gunning for you, Uncharted. Competition's a good thing, So I'm all. This game looks amazing. If you haven't checked out the gameplay footage, go check it out. Amazing, absolutely amazing. The animations like in this game, like from what we saw, were absolutely unbelievable. The sound, the sound was absolutely incredible. So just these little tiny things that but overall, I was so impressed with this, way more than I was with some of the other stuff that I thought I'd be impressed by. So interest in there, but and it's running on 360, and it does an amazing job. It looked absolutely gorgeous. So
absolutely.
Pretty impressed with that. That's one I'll pick up. That's one we'll talk about for sure.
I'll be picking up as well. I know that Michelle on the team, she really, really wants it.
Yeah, no, I mean,
she was another one. She wasn't bothered, and she saw the trailer and she thought, "Oh, that's good. If the game looks anything like that."
Yeah.
And then I showed her the gameplay, and she's like, "Yeah, we're getting that. We're so getting that. We don't have a choice." And I'm like, "Fair enough. I'm not going to argue."
Yeah, so Tomb Raider, absolutely amazing. I really want to see more of that. That looks great. Peter Moore came on from EA Sports next and talk about a whole bunch of Kinect support they're adding to some of the EA Sports franchises like Tiger Woods, Madden, FIFA, and several other little titles and stuff. But that to me is quite a big deal because EA Sports as a brand, an overall brand, is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
Madden and FIFA and even Tiger Woods, it sells stupidly well. It's the same shit every year, but it sells really well. And this is actually going to help Microsoft push Kinect to those people who might have been sitting on the fence about it a little bit. Who are a bit more hardcore into their sports and didn't really think Kinect Sports was for them, that kind of stuff. Great little partnership they got going on there. I think that's going to do wonders for Microsoft, and it's going to do some great things for EA. And I think the announcement that was kind of amazing about the whole EA Kinect thing is Mass Effect 3. Now, I'd like to kind of...
go on, clarify on this.
I'd like to draw people's attention back to the show we put out last week, our birthday show / pre-E3 special, where I made the kind of the joke almost that, what if Mass Effect 3 had Kinect support? Would James go out and buy a Kinect? And you said yes. And then
a couple of days later, there was an image leaked on the EA store with Mass Effect 3 with the little purple band plays better with Kinect. And I was like, oh, fuck.
So that's kind of amusing that I joked, but now it's become true. Not entirely true. Not Kinect support in the way that other games are doing it.
It's not the motion control gestures and stuff.
It's the voice command stuff. Now, here's the thing that initially I just said to myself, well, why the fuck can't they just do this with a headset? Do you know what I mean? But then what I realised was Kinect, there's so much built into Kinect. The actual voice recognition stuff is Kinect. they would have to literally build a load of stuff into the game
for
it to recognise it, whereas Kinect does pretty much most of the work for them.
Yeah, anybody who's played a Mass Effect game knows that there's plenty in there anyway.
So at the end of the day, it would have probably been a development nightmare for them to actually put support for everything like in the game for like headsets and stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, there are games that do that, but I mean, you know, Kinect does a lot of the donkey work for them, so it makes some sense. It's a shame there isn't some kind of like gesture system, or you know what I mean? A bit of a shame, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird kind of idea.
Yeah, but I mean, it sort of works. I mean, I'm obviously a huge Mass Effect fan. I make no effort to hide that at all.
No, you haven't.
One of the things is like issuing orders to your stuff. With this, it allows you to do it on the fly without having to like press any buttons.
Yeah,
you can like order people there, and
that is cool.
Get them to do powers.
But it's not the best use of Kinect I've ever seen.
No, but it does offer sort of freedom to the game.
True.
I think Kinect on a whole, it's probably not a reason to go out and buy it straight away. No. But it's like a little, if you have it and you have the game.
Oh yeah, for sure. You've got an option to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Don't get me wrong, it is cool. But I kind of hoped for something a little bit more. Let's put it this way, right? For example, if you know, Mass Effect 3 was doing stuff with the full body motion control, and using, that would probably tempt me to play it.
Yeah.
Pick that up, but no. Sorry, no dice there. So
we did see a little bit of Mass Effect though.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
I saw quite a lot of it later on.
Yeah.
No, I've got plenty to say about that, but I'll leave that till later.
Indeed. Well, the next big thing was obviously a bit of a rumour, but that Ghost Recon Future Soldier, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, should I say? The rumour we spoke about, I think last week in the pre-E3 special.
Yeah.
As part of the rumours was that, you know, it had an image was leaked with, once again, the Better with Kinect banner on the artwork, and the whole rumour was, it's getting Kinect support, blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's true. A lot of these details were leaked early, so we kind of I spent a lot of this conference just sitting there going, yeah, now this is going to happen, now this is going to happen, this is what we're going to talk about now, and it was kind of, you know, a bit easy to predict. But Ghost Recon Future Soldier with Kinect support, what do you think?
Pretty fucking sweet.
It's here's the thing, right? Obviously, there are the hardcore gamers out there who, most of them, I would say the large majority of them are kind of been hating towards the Kinect, because it's been aimed and directed more towards the, you know, casual gaming, which is fair enough, you know.
Yeah.
But now they are trying to do some stuff with the hardcore for the hardcore gamers, and you know, it's a shooter, and you can control it with just gestures and stuff. And I kind of liked what I saw. I get the feeling that my main concern with a lot of these hardcore titles is that it was going to feel very tacked on. Yeah. I'm not sure whether this does or doesn't. To some degree, they showed the weapon customization, which was pretty cool. I liked that, you know, voice control as well and stuff like that. And then they showed you on like a bit of the shooting range, just firing these randomized weapons and customized weapons and stuff. And you know, you steady the gun with one arm out, and you fire by opening your hand, etc. Yeah. And it looks cool. I would have fun doing that. But could you play a whole game like that? How would that control? Would you just be thinking, fuck, they're going to pick the controller up and play this?
Yeah.
Would it get in the way too much? And this could well be an issue with these first wave of hardcore titles, because it's the first game to really take a shooter and say, let's do a full Kinect support for this game. You know, I mean, games have done it with things like, you know, the Wii and the Move and stuff, which is different, but with just your body, you know, there probably will be issues with this first wave of games like this. It's going to take a little while for somebody to do it right, and you know, I'm interested. I want to play this. You know, don't get me wrong, it looks great, and
well, the Ghost Recon games have always been sort of fairly good, and they've always done different things to kind of like. Because I think the first one, it was the one which kind of did the whole sort of voice chat and everything. Yeah. So they're trying to build something on it. Well, one thing I'm also sort of happy to hear is that they said that all future Tom Clancy games are going to feature this. So, like you said, there might be a few problems first time around, but there's going to be several iterations. It's the start.
It's the start of excuse me. It's the start of working towards you know, creating something solid for the hardcore gamer. And, you know, you may look a bit stupid and it may not work and control quite as fluidly as you want it to, and you may not actually get... Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, if you sit in there doing the gestures and it's not as accurate as you want it to be, and you're getting confused with gestures and it's not recognized, you are going to pick up the controller and play it. Yeah. Rather than just using Kinect.
I mean, when they showed it off at the Ubisoft conference, they were all playing with the controllers. So.
Yeah, so I'm worried that it's going to feel a bit, not so much gimmicky, but just feel like, oh yeah, you can do this, but would you really want to, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think it's good that someone's trying to do this, and it's an optional thing, which is great. So you're not locked into buying Kinect for it. You've got the choice.
But for
I want to try it. I want to see how good it is. But
even just for because they were showing it was the weaponsmith kind of customization thing where you could like customize your weapons and build them and just swap out parts and everything. Even just for that bit, it looks kind of fun. I think everybody who has a Kinect who buys the game is going to be doing that and trying that out and everything. So
okay, well, no, I'm intrigued. I'm excited for it. I want to play it and find out how well it controls myself and whether or not you could play a full, 8 to 12 hour shooter, or whatever, using those gestures and stuff, and how well that plays. But we'll see. Then there was a kind of
it's the big sort of like Kinect thing now.
Yeah. Well, sort of. And there's kind of the next Xbox experience or whatever it's called. It's kind of, we've had it, but now they're kind of redoing it again.
But now that we've had it, that was the last Xbox experience. We're now looking towards the next one.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, another Xbox experience. Basically, they're changing the dashboard up a little bit, making everything controllable with Kinect, which I think is good, because then you don't have to go to the Kinect hub and you're only limited to what you can pick on there, and just making everything available with voice commands. I think that's a good thing. I think it's a way forward, and that's fine with me.
Basically,
they're just expanding on what's already there, I think.
I think they wanted to push the hardware out as soon as possible, which is understandable because they want to get it there and all this. And now they're kind of got to grips with it and it's out there and they know it's done well. They're now focusing more on adapting the functionality, everything that we sort of envisioned with it to begin with, then that's now coming into fruition.
Well, as part of this new Xbox experience, YouTube is now coming to Xboxes.
Awesome.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, you can search YouTube and you can use the Kinect with this and, all that kind of stuff and search things.
You can, just voice recognition again and...
Pretty cool.
Search for Ninja Cat. Stuff.
But I mean, it's not groundbreaking stuff. YouTube's available on so many devices now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool though. I mean, people will probably use it, and maybe I'm not one of them, but another announcement was Bing, but it's kind of limited, obviously, to stuff that's available on the various marketplaces through Xbox Live. So you have sort of Bing built in that you can use to search for content, whether it be TV shows or movies or game content or download anything.
It kind of eliminates hunting through menus and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And in that
cool.
Respect,
it is cool, but very funny that there's a major emphasis on Bing.
Bing.
Yeah.
Well,
no, because it's obviously like I guess Microsoft obviously own Bing, and it's their Google, it's their search engine, and anything like that they can port over to any of the devices they're going to. So, it could just not be called Bing. You could just not say that it was Bing, and it wouldn't have mattered. It'd be the exact same thing. But it's
they had Xbox search or
but now they had to make emphasis on Bing. But hey, that's
Connect
what they
Hunter
do.
Or whatever.
So two or three fairly interesting little announcements, more tweaks and additions to the dashboard than anything. Nothing amazing, but still quite cool. There's a UFC announcement.
Yeah, which is the actually being able to watch the sport on your Xbox now, which we here in the UK, we're not going to be getting that. No.
That sucks, because I'd probably use that. And, you can, wager in on who's going to win and stuff. Little things like that. Stuff they were doing with the ESPN stuff, it's now, focused more on Ultimate Fighting Championship, Gears of War 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think...
Big fan.
Yeah, I know. We know it's going to be good, but I think it's the same thing that you were saying about Modern Warfare 3, but more so what you're going to be getting. You know they're going to be raising the stakes and all that, so you can kind of anticipate it. And because you can anticipate it, there's nothing there to surprise you.
Yeah, I think it wasn't that it was weak. I just feel like last year's unveiling of his Gears of War 3 was so much more amazing to me. And
because
they showed a bit of a boss, a gigantic fucking piranha that tries to eat the fuck out of everybody. It was pretty freaky for you, obviously.
Yeah.
But like,
the demo itself was cool, but I think it's the fact that we know we could all be playing it right now.
It pretty much, with that, it showed. Only thing it really showed me that I thought was cool was the mech stuff.
Yeah.
That was like, as soon as they showed the mechs, and I was like, yeah, I want me a mech. I want to play that shit. It looked so good. But then it was just a boss battle, and yeah, you can use the mechs as cover. That's pretty cool as well. But you can't. You can use everything as cover in that game, so it's kind of expected. And like I say, you kind of know where it was going, and there was no major like, what? Here's the amazing demo it was showing off, and we're showing you loads of stuff you've never seen before. It was just, here's some stuff. Here's a boss battle that there's something very similar to it in Gears 2.
Yeah,
and it was cool, and the game's gonna be amazing. I'm gonna love it, but I was hoping for a slightly more epic demo.
Yeah,
pun intended.
Everything's sort of like that. Everything's sort of been revealed. We know what we're going to be getting with it.
Yeah.
So obviously, unless they like show us the whole game and like give it to us and let us play it, there's not going to be any big surprises, really.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, well that covers that. This was a bit of a surprise. Well, yes and no. The title for this came out a few hours or so before.
Yeah.
But it's last year, if anyone remembers watching E3 last year, at Microsoft press conference, there's an announcement of them teaming up with Crytek to work on a Kinect title, and it was called Codename Kingdoms at the time.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously a code name, now that is back. There's a trailer for it. It's called Rise, spelled Ryse.
Yeah.
And it looks kind of like it's a. Well, you explain, James.
It's sort of a... Well, it's kind of set in like Roman times, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Sort of historical thing, but it's a sort of a first-person brawler.
Yeah.
With Kinect.
Yes.
And it's with the the graphics and everything. I mean, we've seen stuff like this before, and
I mean, it's going to be using the CryEngine 3, I presume. It's Crytek. It's going to look good. We know that fact.
But you're going to have like one arm is going to be a shield, and the other is going to be a sword, and
you can kick and headbutt.
Headbutting and all that, and then. Yeah.
Here's the thing. I mean, it looks great. There's a lot of promise there. I'm excited for this. This looks better than what I imagined it would. Like when it was just bits and pieces of information, it's like, no, this seems like it could be really good, and I'd be up for this. I'd be up for playing this. This looks amazing. But it was just a trailer. There was no other. It was literally, here's a trailer. No announcement of the release date or anything.
Which, in some ways, is good because it adds an air of mystery.
True. But I this could be total bollocks though. That's the only thing I'm worried about. It could be really bad, but it's Crytek. We'll see.
The idea is good, and the
potential. The overall execution of it seems, from the look of it, seems fine. But you can never tell with these trailers. But then, information, like I said, was leaked earlier about some of these. But the Halo Combat Evolved HD, aka Halo Anniversary.
Yep.
We've been talking about it for a little while on the show. We're not big Halo fans, as anyone who listened to the Halo Reach special will know. Yeah. But there was the rumours, the rumblings of an HD remake of the original Halo. It's 10 years old. It's the kind of, it's one of the launch titles for the Xbox. It's pretty much the biggest success for the Xbox.
It's pretty much Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix are like Xbox's biggest mascots.
Indeed, yeah. So here's the thing, right? We knew it was coming.
Yep.
It was even confirmed about 2 hours before the conference due to people leaking out images on Xbox.com.
Yep.
They're good at that. This is now... the release date, there's a trailer for it. It looks cool. It looks just like, up-to-date Halo.
They sort of show what it looks like originally and then the updated version. And it is comparable with... more recent.
You say this is what's interesting about it is it's actually running the original code but with an extra layer of detail over the top, which you can switch off, so you can play it and compare it. Right, so you can literally on the fly switch off and switch back to the original looking Halo, right? Which is cool. It's also actually going to be a retail disc release.
Yeah,
not full price, but a retail disc release, not a downloadable jobby, and it comes out on the 15th of November this year.
So 4 days after Skyrim.
Yep, indeed. So, it will do well, I'm sure, and people buy it and love it. And
you see,
also a chance for some people like us, mate. I mean, I played bits of the first Halo and thought it was okay, but maybe this is a lot of chance for people to get into it.
See, I enjoyed the first one, but I played the second one. And I just wasn't as blown away with it as I thought I could. I thought it would be. I thought, oh yeah, I really enjoyed the first one. I'll do this, and I played it, and it just wasn't all that.
Yeah.
So I'll enjoy this, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, it's going to sell ridiculously well. Forget about it. Right, okay. Forza 4, another trailer. No real gameplay shown off, but other than what we saw last year.
Yeah.
We know there's Kinect support. We know about the head tracking stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
They're doing some very interesting things with Kinect. Obviously, you can... The only thing that sucks, actually, is that the way you control it is pretty much the Kinect Joyride kind of...
Yeah.
Imagine you...
Hands in the 10 and 2 position.
Yeah, that's fine. I guess there's no other way of really controlling it with Kinect, but, everything else, though, pretty fucking cool. I really do like, the... being able to walk around the vehicle and examine it, and
the level of detail.
Indeed,
is insane.
Not a big racing sim fan, not a big fan of this series, but do you know what? It's looking good,
and it's another reason to use your Kinect.
Well, this is good because obviously we're shipping 10 million Kinects out there. People are still they're begging for more content, more games to play on it, and I'm glad that they focus pretty heavily on some of these, larger sort of titles for Kinect. It's great. So Forza 4 coming out October 11th. That's awesome. Then something that you may be a little bit interested in is is Fable: The Journey.
Yeah.
I think basically what Microsoft are trying to do here is get James to buy a Kinect.
Yeah. You see, I am a huge Fable fan.
Yep.
But this isn't at its very core essentially a Fable game.
No,
it's
but
kind
it's something
it's a spin-off,
you would play,
really.
Though, wouldn't you?
Yeah. What we saw, it's kind of like an on-rails magic fighting sort of simulator.
No, I mean, it's not my kind of game, but I agree that it looked pretty cool.
Yeah.
It looked alright,
Yeah.
So, I could see you playing that. I'd be laughing at you, but
yeah,
The
thing is, I can see you playing it as well.
Yeah.
And
so, Fable: The Journey from Lionhead, Peter Molyneux came out and announced it, and it was a demo. It looks fine. It's not my kind of thing, but an on-rail shooter. Well, not shooter, but magic kind of.
And sort of the thing is, you get like different spells and everything, and it's like the hand gestures, calling it up very sort of.
Yeah, there's like a lot of different hand gestures.
Very reminiscent of one of Lionhead's older games, Black and White, which was just amazing, where you would move the mouse in certain directions that would summon a spell and everything. So
there you go. It's kind of
all comes around.
Kind of porting that experience a little bit there.
To be quite honest, I think I probably would have been more impressed by like Black and White on the Kinect.
Yeah, possibly, but who knows?
I think a lot of people have asked in that over the last day or two.
Yeah, once again though, I think it's a second wave of Kinect titles. I think if we're not getting anything majorly impressive by the third wave by next year's E3, then Kinect's done. But at the moment, it's looking pretty good. Obviously, there'll be other stuff coming out. Minecraft announcement. For Xbox and...
I mean, Minecraft is huge. I mean, I know people, I've got friends who play it, who swear by it, and they've sort of like put pictures of what they build up on Facebook, and they obviously spend a lot of time.
Yeah, and it's a big deal because obviously it's exclusive to the 360 now.
Yeah.
So, didn't quite catch when that's coming out, but...
soon.
Yeah, I mean, and with Kinect support obviously as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Mind-blowing that they've hooked that up. Now, something obviously, hardcore titles for the Kinects, all well and good. Obviously, they still have something for the kiddies and for the family-orientated people, but like Kinect Disneyland Adventures was announced, and they showed off some, kind of it was a kind of gameplay trailer basically, and then they showed some
little kiddie actors.
Then they showed some, some gameplay, and as cheesy as it was. This is a big deal. It's a Disney property. It's not just one Disney property. It's all Disney properties. It's rolled into one game. It
is essentially it's Kinect Adventures, though, isn't it? It's kind of like that mini game sort of.
Yeah, with Disney characters, but people are going to go fucking mental over this.
Absolutely.
I know people who would buy this.
Like the hub is kind of like a recreation of Disneyland, which you can walk through and
play mini games.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Disney fan, but it's pretty cool.
And graphically, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Sort of on par with anything like Pixar or anything have done for Disney. And it looked really solid, so...
Yeah, it looks fun, you know.
Yeah, I'm probably going to buy it.
It's sort of a more family-orientated kind of game, but, you know, I think this is going to sell really well, and it's definitely another title, once again, that's going to push people to partner with money for Kinect, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a good thing. And obviously the next title we're going to talk about is going to do exactly that, but I don't think it's going to be as good as Kinect Star Wars. Now, we bashed on it last week on the show with the UGN guys.
I think we bashed on it while we were watching it.
Yeah, we did a little bit. And, you know, there was a trailer that came out a few days ago, and people have actually had hands-on with it even before E3, and apparently it's really lagtastic.
Yeah.
So
it looked it as they were doing it. It looked, I mean, the guy was jumping, and then it was like
4 hours later, stuff happened. You know,
yeah,
after the conference was over.
But I have to say, it's not a game for us, no. But my 5-year-old son was in the room at the time. He was like on my knee, and his face just kind of lit up. It's going straight for that demographic.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So like the kind of older Star Wars fans who were, you know, who were there when it all started, probably won't enjoy this. And, you know, I was kind of hoping... I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I kind of like... You know, I like Star Wars-ish, but, you know... I can't get behind this at all. And it just seems like, you know, LucasArts, you know, saying, yeah, do what you like.
Yeah, I'll wait for the special remastered edition.
You do that.
That was your joke, I'm sorry.
Can't believe you stole it. Yeah. Just throw some THX on that bad boy. We're done. No, look, but it'll sell well. There's 10 million plus. I mean, by the time it comes out, there'll be more people buying Kinect because there's some of these games coming out. And yeah, it's going to do well because it's Star Wars, you know. But then people buy it and probably regret it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said at the time. That's what I'm saying now. And I probably will stick to that. But hey, unless they neaten it up a little bit, maybe make it a bit tighter, make it a bit more fun for the adults, maybe that'll, you know, it won't happen.
Get rid of the lag.
So,
I think that'll go a big way. Something as simple as that is just making it more
a bit
immediate.
tighter, just the gameplay tighter. You know what I mean? Then Tim Schafer from Double Fine came out and spoke about Sesame Street Once Upon a Monster, which, you know, you're smiling right now, but like, I don't know why I've got a special place for this in my heart. Sesame Street. It just, when it was announced, and it was like Double Fine, and we spoke about it on the show. We even said, "What the hell," you know, but. You know, it's so cute that you kind of like, and the game, you know, they showed a bit of gameplay and stuff, and it was pretty cool. And you know, if you've got kids, you're gonna get this. You know, if you've got Kinect and you've got kids, why wouldn't you buy this? You know, I think you know Disney Adventures and this are gonna sell ridiculously well.
Your little girl has like no attention span whatsoever.
No,
has she? She's all right. When this came on, she was stood there watching it. I saw her. So
yeah,
you know you want to get it just so you can play it with her.
I'll just keep putting the trailer on loop to shut her up. No, but yeah, we will probably get this, and it's going to be fun, you know. So yeah, I mean, you kind of it's from Double Fine as well, so you know there's a certain standard there already. You know, it's a quality developer who, you know what I mean, it's not going to be bullshit, you know.
No.
So I'm excited for that, actually. Oddly enough, I'm saying it, I'm excited for the Sesame Street Kinect game because, you know, it looks fun. Once again, more Kinect stuff, but then, you know, we kind of expect this. Kinect Fun Labs, free stuff.
Which is available now.
Yeah, I've not even had hands-on with this yet because I've been so busy with all the C3 stuff. I haven't tried any of this stuff out, but it looks so much fun, some of the stuff they showed off.
Yeah.
They showed off...
I think what kind of... The two things that did it for me is the guy, he like scanned himself and he did like a picture and he posed and then he moved, and as he moved...
Did the finger drawings and then did the 3D move.
But no, his sort of thing was still there, and then he sort of moved to the side and took another picture. So there were like two of him in 3D plane, then he did the finger tracking where he drew. And as it moved in space behind where he was standing and all that, and wrapped around him, and then he like walked around and the whole image...
It just proves that the Kinect really does do 3D motion tracking...
Yeah,
stupidly good. Like, I don't know. I was impressed. It's not the biggest, most amazing thing ever, but I was quite impressed with it.
But they said this is going to have sort of like all the stuff that the community have done with Kinect, all like the hacks and stuff. This will give us access to those on there. There's going to be all sorts of like little things just to play and mess around with.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not obviously it's free, so
yeah, we can't argue.
But it's basically it's just all the little bits and bobs that people have done. And what is it? It's the object scanning.
Yeah, object scanning and making the object 3D and being able to animate it yourself. That's kind of cool. Totally fucking pointless, but ultimately pretty cool.
And people will.
Scan a lot of weird shit in.
Yeah.
If I wasn't recording right now, I'd be scanning some weird shit into my Kinect.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let's get the train back on the tracks. But what impressed me quite a bit also, and we're forgetting here, is that part of this demo was that they did the avatar thing. Where it scanned your clothing, and it actually literally...
looks like you. Scarily so.
It scarily made your avatar look like you, and so... I will try and get hands on with this at some point when I get around to it, because obviously we're really busy this week with so much E3 stuff. But pretty cool. It's all free. Can't argue with that.
No,
something that we knew was coming: Kinect Sports 2, but it's called Kinect Sports Season 2. But
obviously, sporting reference.
There's Kinect Sports did really well. It's one of the few titles that came out for Kinect at launch that actually was decent. It was the Wii Sports kind of rip-off, but it was done so well that I actually think it was better than Wii Sports, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of fun game modes on there, done so much with it, and it was just overall really fun to play. And, getting more of it. You're getting skiing and...
Yeah, I have to say, I was...
tennis and stuff, and all kinds of stuff.
Fairly impressed by, like, the amount of stuff. I mean, they have golf as well, which is a big sort of Wii Sports thing, because they had that on there. But it's like what you were saying when you saw it, when Tiger Woods was announced to have Kinect support.
I was like, okay, Tiger Woods, that sounds cool.
But now you've seen it on this.
Now I'll play Kinect. I'll play Kinect Sports 2.
Kinect Sports 2.
Because I probably will have more fun. I mean, don't get me wrong, I kind of wanted there to be a decent golfing game for Kinect, Yeah. I'm not hugely into golf, but I would play it, And now I know it's in Kinect Sports 2. I'm just going to get that. So, pretty cool. But, I forget what else was in there. There was, there's American football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they call it football, but, to us,
they're Americans.
So American football and loads of, so much stuff. It looks really cool and a lot of fun. So, if you bought the first Kinect Sports and own it, I mean, I own the first one as well. If you probably will pick this up. And another Kinect sequel, as to be expected, the rumours are true. Dance Central 2 was unveiled.
I like Dance Central.
Yeah, it's alright, it's fun. Dance Central 2, the guys from Harmonix came out and said, hey, we've been working on the sequel, obviously. I think I even joked about this a long time ago, that they're going to be making Dance Central 2. And this time the overall differences are that there's you have multiplayer.
Proper multiplayer
same
this
time. Multiplayer. You can stand next to each other. Yeah, simultaneous multiplayer. And dance next to each other. So, instead of you looking like a tit on your own, you can look like a tit with somebody else at the same time.
A pair of tits.
Yeah. And so, and the other big news was that, all your songs from the original game and any of your DLC can be ported over. Which is to be expected in this day and age.
Which will make it, have the biggest track list of any dance game.
It's like 200 songs or something. Yeah.
It's
pretty cool. So, they demoed it. It looked fine. It looked exactly the same. You know what you're getting. But this time there's just some additional modes and little extras like, simultaneous multiplayer and all that kind of stuff. It was all good. It's fine.
Yeah.
Not sure if I'll pick it up or not. I haven't played enough of the first one, really. I do own it, but, we will see. Then...
It was like, this is kind of like the closing...
We're wrapping this up now, so we're getting to the end of the Microsoft stuff, but... The big news that kind of leaked about 2 or 3 hours before the actual press event was that Halo 4 was a genuine property. It was actually going to be unveiled. There was, a showing. And once again, through Xbox.com, this leaked. And sure enough, right at the end, teaser trailer for Halo 4. Coming out holiday 2012.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts? We're not big Halo fans, so it's a bit of a shame.
No, not big Halo fans, but they've announced that this is the start of a new trilogy from 343 Games, and you know what? It does ridiculously well, so it doesn't really matter what I think.
No.
It's going to be huge.
At the end of the day, Bungie are working on bigger, better things or whatever, that's fine. Let somebody else take over and try and do something, maybe try and do something a little different with it and do their take on it and just freshen it up a little bit. I think, there's been a lot of Halo games and stuff, and you've had your ODST and your Reach and 1, 2, and 3 and all that. So, I think it's time that maybe somebody came in and shook things up a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
But I'm no expert on it because I don't play it, so... But it'd be kind of interesting to see what people really think over all of that. But that concludes all of Microsoft stuff, and we've been talking now for the best part of 40 minutes, and just about that. But overall, pretty solid. You know, they showed some good stuff. The stuff I was thinking that I was going to be more impressed by wasn't as impressed as I hoped to be, but generally it's pretty strong lineup. The Kinect stuff, you know, is good. I thought it'd be a bit more of the hardcore stuff, but there is some titles in there that are kind of cool. So
yeah,
there's a no-show on the Gears of War the Gears of War Kinect thing.
No.
There's a no-show on the Skype announcement thing.
No.
Bit of a shame, but hey, you know, who knows?
Yeah, maybe these things take a bit of time to sort out and all that. I have no doubts that it will be coming at some point. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So let's move on because obviously we've got a lot to get through. Let's briefly go over EA and Ubisoft's announcements because EA were next up.
Yep.
And so let's take probably about 20 minutes just to talk about these two if we could get through it pretty quickly.
Yep.
So EA started off with Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Big cinematic trailer, which you loved.
Yep.
A gameplay demo, and then a gameplay trailer. So you get two trailers for the price of one.
Yep.
It's coming out March 6th, 2012.
Which is a long wait, but...
It's another year, basically, yeah.
The amount of improvements and stuff, I mean, they had it there running on 360, and...
It looked good.
Yeah.
From what I can tell.
It looks nice.
Mm.
They've done a lot of improvements with the engine. Obviously, the stuff that they've been working on and sort of moved to... When it moved to the PS3, they've kind of carried on and upgraded it more since then.
Yeah. Well, they also had to put a plug in for the Origin.com website that they've got running now, where you can download extra content and stuff from. But then they went on to talk about Need for Speed: The Run.
Yep. Which surprising, really. It's another good because I mean we had it was Hot Pursuit.
Hot Pursuit was last year.
Yeah.
That I enjoyed a lot of fun.
Then we had, what was it, Shift 2?
Yeah, not necessarily. Yeah, not. Dropped the Need for Speed from a bit Shift 2 Unleashed. Yeah, that came out. Wasn't as impressed with that.
Wasn't as impressed, but this looks pretty good. This looks fairly sort of story driven.
Yeah,
and I think it's the first time in the series that there are on foot sequences.
Yeah,
where during a race, if you crash or anything, there'll be like scripted things, and you'll be able to like your character jumps out, and there's like quick time events, whatever, getting to the next thing. Just kind of like break up the pace.
Yeah,
and give it a narrative and. It looked nice. It looked quite fun to play. So
cool.
See where that goes.
Yeah, I was impressed with what they showed. Yeah, good. I mean, I'm going to wait to see a bit more to see whether they decided whether or not to get it. But
yeah,
it impressed me more than I thought it would.
Yeah. BioWare then came out again and started talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic. Yeah, it wasn't much. They just showed like the opening cinematic of it. There's still no release date.
Yeah, well,
which I think pissed a lot of people off. But good things come to those who wait.
And wait.
And wait.
And wait.
And then EA came out and they did all their sports stuff and they showed off...
Peter Moore out again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. SSX.
Yeah.
And that's coming out in January 2012. They showed off a little bit of that. That looks kind of fun.
It does look really good, and there's been like a few little trailers and stuff coming out lately. A lot of people talking about it. It's making it's got quite a big presence at E3 this year, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks fine. I mean, there's not many games out like it at the moment,
No.
So
no, it's kind of like a cast back to a happier time where there were like loads of snowboarding games and stuff. I mean, really, in recent years we've had Shaun White and all that, but no, this looks like it could be more fun.
Yeah.
And then obviously they talked about FIFA 12 and Madden 12 and all that. And FIFA 12 surprisingly looks quite good. I almost kind of got enthused about a football game, then I realised who I was and slapped myself.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But they also announced the EA Sports Football Club.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the online social thing.
They have a gun club for their FPSs, so you want to have a football club.
Yeah. So there's that, and that's the whole kind of like getting into teams and all that, and all your friends, and you pick your club and play as your club, and then that increases their stats, and there's like the whole league there, and the more people play as a certain club, they build up points and put them higher up in the league, and it's kind of like it's the big thing at the moment. It's the social
integration.
Yeah. I mean, Call of Duty's doing it. Everybody's going to be doing it. So
pretty much.
They announced that. Another big thing, one of their big things is they made a big deal about Madden 12, but, I don't follow American football, so I had no idea who any of the guys on stage were. So, it's an American football game.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
You'll buy it. Everyone will buy it. It's fine.
Then they announced The Sims Social, which is the Sims Facebook game, which had an awful trailer. Oh my god, it looked.
I think I missed this bit actually. But
it looked. I've got here written down in the notes, lols.
Okay, so pretty bad then.
Yeah.
What else was there?
Kingdoms of Alamar Reckoning, which is kind of like this new fantasy action RPG. It looks okay.
Mm-hmm.
It looks alright if you're into that sort of thing. I just think there's kind of an oversaturation of like the medieval fantasy things. I think people are waiting for the big ones. Ones that are like continuing a series or whatever. I don't think there's much room for new IPs in it.
Yeah.
But, because we got like Dragon Age and we got Elder Scrolls and...
a lot of Skyrim being shown off, but we're not going to talk about that till later in the week.
Yep. Then it moved on to a surprising new one. It's the new game from Insomniac, who mostly have done PS3 games like Resistance and
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, but this is them teaming up with EA to do the multi-platform thing. And they announced Overstrike.
Yeah.
Which I have to say I'm quite interested in.
Like I said, I missed this bit. I must have missed some of this, and
it's kind of like it's geared up as like a 4-player co-op thing, like class-based thing. You got like 4 different characters. They've all got their own personalities. They all have like different skills and everything. And the way they did it was a very humorous trailer. It's obviously they've got like fun and funnies in it. But
that's good.
Like I said, it's kind of reminded me of sort of Tom Clancy meets Team Fortress.
Cool.
That sort of humour and stuff.
I think that's.
And they've got like showing off some like the weird weapons and all that. And
like I said, I missed this bit. I didn't check this bit out, but yeah.
I think I have put the trailer up on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Yeah, facebook.com/Games4all podcast.
Hey, there you go.
So awesome. I heard rumblings of this after it happened, and I didn't get a chance to check it out. But EA finished with something I did see to catch a bit of was Battlefield 3. The big thing of E3 this year is Modern Warfare 3 versus Battlefield 3. It's not the big thing, but it's just one of the main things that people are talking about. And there's a huge flame war on the internet, just Twitter and everywhere. Everyone has their opinion on it. And at the end of the day, I'm going to buy both, I'm going to play both, and I'm going to love both. And yes, Battlefield 3 is graphically superior in many ways.
They only showed the PC version yet. We still haven't seen the console version.
They've always shown the PC version, which does make me think whether or not this Frostbite 2 engine, how scalable really is it, how good is it going to look on 360 and PS3, blah, blah, blah. But hey, But
they did sort of like a demo trailer thing of the Frostbite, sort of showing everything that it can do. And oh my god, dude, it looks amazing.
I know, I saw that as well. I did actually catch that bit.
Yeah.
I stuck around for that.
Yeah.
But,
that was good. And then
very cool.
Yeah, then they showed like a bit of a sort of multiplayer demo where they were going through Paris with the destructible buildings and taking people out.
I mean, that's the thing. That's just one of the many things that Battlefield has over Call of Duty is the destructible environments.
Yeah.
And just the fact it looks better,
Yeah. I mean, most sort of multiplayer games, they kind of get a bit scaled down from the multiplayer side.
Yeah.
Like, sort of kind of like the main campaign looks nice and all this, but I honestly couldn't tell much of a difference. It looked the same sort of graphical fidelity as the single player.
Like I say, wait till we get a console and see what happens. But
But yeah, then they showed like the live demo of it. Now a lot of people on like the Twitter feed found it a bit boring or whatever. But I'm sort of thinking if this is the most boring that Battlefield has got, then
it's going to be quite a fucking good game.
Because I was just kind of like blown away by everything. It really felt like you were there. I mean, the smoke was there. It was like hard to see. You had like the thermal cameras and like going through the desert, and the whole scale of it was just huge.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Huge area. Literally, you were going through the desert. You could see the mountains in the background and sort of slowly approaching out, and it just looked amazing. So
yeah, it's very Battlefield 3. Every time I see it, it just gets that much more and more impressive. And this is probably the year where Call of Duty is definitely going to get the run for its money that it needs. Because last year, Medal of Honor went up against Black Ops, and I've mentioned it on the show enough times already. But we know who came out on top as far as that goes. And, Medal of Honor should have been a much better game. The multiplayer side, which was built by DICE, was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Other than that, not so much.
That speaks volumes for this.
Yeah, so I'm excited for Battlefield 3.
Obviously, you get like the die-hard Call of Duty fans who are flaming this, and you get the die-hard Battlefield fans who are flaming Call of Duty. So You know, the opinion's going to be split, but I think they're both going to do well. But I think Battlefield 3 is probably going to do slightly better.
Yeah, and they announced the open beta in September, I do believe.
Yep,
we'll be taking part in. So.
Yep, and they also announced the Battle Log, which is their social side of it, which, like I said, is the big thing at the moment.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and that kind of wrapped up the EA. It was kind of short but sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff from what I saw.
They kind of, instead of trying to cram everything in, they kind of focused on the few big games.
Yeah, which is probably the best way of doing it, because they've got some, they've got loads coming out, but it's just, concentrate on the popular things,
Yeah, I think overall there are a couple of some big hits and some misses and all that, but I think EA did fairly well this year.
Well, we're halfway through. We're going to talk about the Ubisoft conference now. I didn't get to see any of it, so this is going to be news to me.
Ubisoft...
I missed out on Ubisoft.
But they had some weird guy presenting it, Mr. Coffee or whatever. He was kind of annoying.
Anyway, well, let's not concentrate on that.
No, but you've got to talk a bit about the presentation, because it wasn't... It was weird. They opened up with Rayman Origins, and there wasn't like a big trailer or anything. It was the guy in charge of it playing like 10 minutes of the game in co-op with his mate. And I have to admit, it looks amazing, but to start off with, it's kind of like the opening thing.
Not what you'd probably choose.
No.
Well, like you say, when you think Ubisoft, you've got titles like Ghost Recon and Assassin's Creed and things like that. That's a big hit that you'd think you'd start off with. But hey,
no, they started off with it, so it's kind of an odd choice. But I have to say, actually, it looks kind of good. I mean, I like the old 2D Raymans. I kind of got out of it when it went into 3D, but no, this looks fairly impressive. I mean, we've seen a lot of 2D games getting the HD treatment and looking really, really nice and stuff, and this just carries on. So
4-player co-op.
4-player co-op.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
cool.
It's going to be awesome.
So what next?
They showed off some Driver San Francisco.
Well, this was they showed some off last year E3, but it wasn't such a. They were a little bit coy as to it showed a chunk, but not anything.
This is sort of like the trailer for it. It was very kind of Steve McQueen bullet inspired type
pretty
thing.
Much what they went for last time.
It looked good. It was kind of like this and Need for Speed: The Run, kind of comparable, whatever. So
awesome.
There might be some competition between them.
Yeah, possibly.
We'll see.
That'd be interesting.
They both look good. And then it went on to probably the big surprise.
Yeah.
Which was opened it up as a game set in the jungle, doing all this. It's kind of broad daylight, but had kind of like a really sort of dark, creepy feel. And I'm like, it's Far Cry. And like I said, reading the Twitter blog, everybody was like, "What's this game? What's this shit?" Oh, is it Far Cry? Far Cry? And then as it kind of like got into it, you could tell, this is Far Cry. It's like the HUD that you running around shooting. Everything's pretty much exactly Far Cry. And it's like, is it Far Cry? Is it? What is it? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, yes,
fucking
it's Far Cry.
Well, do you know what?
And then when the thing actually came up at the end saying Far Cry 3, it's like, it's Far Cry. It's like, you only just figured that out. Jesus.
Fucking hell. Yeah, some people are pretty thick.
But no, they showed off a fairly sort of big chunk of that.
Awesome. I haven't checked this out yet. I'm excited. I like me some Far Cry. Do you know what this announcement pretty much does to me though? What it makes me think? Fuck, I got to finish Far Cry 2.
Yeah. Well, you've got until next year to do it.
Okay, cool. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Then they brought on the guys who did the Brothers in Arms games.
Yeah, right.
Now, people who followed that series, they're sort of like, it's based on the World War II, kind of the American company. It's basically Band of Brothers the game.
Yeah, kind of
type thing.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of platoon.
There's been several different Brothers in Arms games, but some of them have been pretty over the top.
Yeah. Well, apparently Ubisoft dared them to go kind of a bit crazy and try something a bit different. So the guys who did the Brother in Arms games watched Inglourious Bastards and said, you know what, let's do that, but make it more over the top. So
it's already pretty over the top.
Yeah.
Places,
Basically, the trailer is set in a pub, a pub, and all the Nazi soldiers are sitting there, and they've got like their steins of beer, and then the Americans come in, and you get like, I just can't go into it. It is just insane. And
I wish I'd seen this now.
Yeah, it is pretty much bad. And the guys from the live feed who were talking about it on game trailers, they said any kind of like game where you feel bad for the Nazis getting killed, kind of you know is something slightly not right there.
Yeah.
But no, it looks totally over the top, totally insane. Again, sort of like a hyper-violent Team Fortress 2.
Interesting. I'm going to have to check this out, actually. Yeah, definitely. Sounds cool.
It looks weird.
Okay, what else?
Then they showed off a bit of... They got Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg, obviously on VT. Not there in the flesh. Yeah. But
they did have Steven Spielberg at the Microsoft press conference a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't turn off the Ubisoft one this time. They were talking about the Adventures of Tintin, the game. Obviously, it's going to be like it's family orientated, it's co-op, it's going to be in 3D, but it's a movie tie-in.
Yeah.
In the end, as though some bits of it looked all right, in the end, you can tell it's a movie tie-in.
Yeah. Okay.
And a couple of movie tie-ins that come out, they've looked all right, but
you know what to expect there. Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else we got?
Then they showed off Ghost Recon, some actual co-op game. They had like 4 guys doing it and showing how the game worked, and it looks good. It looks kind of like tying in your attacks and planning stuff out. And
you mentioned this wasn't played with Kinect. This is controller based.
It had like the guys on stage all doing it.
At the end of the day, it's sort of you're not going to really demo it on Kinect just in case things go wrong. But I guess you can't do co-op, unless you had 4 Kinects or whatever. How many? Yeah,
absolutely. And then they showed off a little bit of Ghost Recon Online, which is sort of like a spin-off sub-thing.
Okay.
It's kind of like the online competitive thing. But what they've said is, although it's like a completely separate game, it's going to be free to play.
Yep.
And there will be certain links between that and Future Soldier, like achievements and stuff, and various other sort of gameplay. They're going to be kind of like closely tied together.
Oh, awesome.
So 2 different experiences of a very similar game.
Cool.
But,
alright.
And that looked graphically fairly sort of similar to Future Soldier.
Sweet.
So, it's good. Then they got the Mania Planet people out. Do you remember Trackmania?
Yeah, rings a bell. Yeah,
you could like make the tracks and everything. And they showed off a bit of Trackmania 2, and it looked alright, but it kind of a weird thing. And they're also going on about there's going to be Shootmania and Questmania, which is kind of where you can make your own first-person shooters and your own adventure games.
Okay, yeah.
And that's kind of on the whole Mania Planet thing. But that's all kind of user-generated content, sharing and stuff.
So much of that going around these days. Yeah.
And it looked like it's all exclusively for PC. That kind of sucks. Otherwise, Yeah,
it's a bit of a shame, but...
I'm sure you'd quite like to make your own shooting game.
Maybe.
I kind of like to make my own adventure game.
Yeah.
But my PC's crap.
Okay.
So.
As you can probably hear in the background.
Yeah, it's dying slowly.
Yeah. So what else?
Then they announced the Raving Rabbits, Alive and Kicking.
Yeah.
Which is coming for the Kinect, and it's party games.
Yeah,
You see yourself on the
pretty
thing.
sure this was leaked also.
Yeah. It obviously shows on screen it's you in your living room, and then the rabbits come out the floor and you have to stamp on them. And the other thing they showed is like their
murder simulator.
Yeah. But it's kind of whack-a-mole type thing. And they showed another one which was like a shape would appear on screen, and you and all your friends had to kind of like stand to try and fill the shape and do that. And that looked pretty weird, and it takes photos of you doing that. Basically, it's party games.
Yeah, it's party games for Kinect, but got you.
It's kind of like not so much for kids, but for people who are either fairly hyperactive or completely LSD'd out of their mind. Yeah. So
nice.
That's that. And then they went on to show Just Dance 3, which is sort of coming out on Kinect, Move, and Wii. I think it's going
multi-plat.
Yeah. So I think they're
interesting.
They've seen how Dance Central has done on Kinect, so I think they're going for that.
Well, basically, Dance Central's been doing great for Kinect. Here's the thing. With Ubisoft, they brought out the Michael Jackson experience quite recently for Kinect. They used the same kind of user interface as...
And I have to admit, it did look just like that.
Your Shape Fitness Evolved,
Yeah.
That was what I'm saying. That user interface you use on that game is basically... instead of doing exercises, you're doing Michael Jackson moves. That's pretty much the game. And this is pretty much going to be that.
Yeah.
So, they're basically just kind of... It's reskinning a lot of their games to work with Kinect. But if it works, it works. Hey, whatever, it's fine.
And then they showed off Rocksmith.
So
basically kind of like obviously with Guitar Hero on hiatus as his new thing. But their big thing with this is teaching you how to play actual guitars. You use real...
There's a lot of them saying about this. There's that Rise of the 6-string, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had kind of like a VT of it, various people and rock stars and everything talking about it and all that. And the guy who's like part of Ubisoft saying, I can't play the guitar, but after like 6 minutes of playing this, I felt like I could. And, anything that gets you to play real instruments, I think at this point... Because a lot of people can play the plastic ones, but how many of you can actually play real instruments? Anything that can help you and makes learning to play an instrument fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, I can get behind that. Yeah, definitely.
I think they're going to do a lot of more promoting and everything with this. I think they're going to try and really force a good sell out of it. So, as someone who does actually play instruments, real ones, as well as plastic ones. Because obviously those games combine two of my loves, which is gaming and music. Yeah. Right, so I enjoy those games, but there is room for something that is genuinely going to be a learning tool. So I play guitar, and if I'd had something like this to learn with when I first started picking up a guitar, then that would have been probably so much more. Easier than the hours and
it probably would have maybe saved a bit of time, but no, it would have made the experience a bit more fun. Not that saying it wasn't, but so I can get behind it. That's pretty cool. That's awesome. And
I think because there's this whole stigma against like the Rock Band games and all that with things, because the actual musicians are there saying, it doesn't really teach you how to play anything, so what's the point? This actually teaches you how to play something, so I think there's going to get a lot of
people have tried this already, but we'll see what happens with that. But hey,
that's coming out fall this year, October. So
interesting.
We'll see now. Then they showed a trailer for Your Shape Fitness Evolved 2012, which I'm guessing is kind of just more of the same
expansion.
They didn't really show anything of it. It's just like a trailer, but
okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm presuming for Kinect, possibly they're going to go multi-plat with that, even though it's kind of on the Wii first, in the way Your Shape, something, Your Fitness, something, whatever.
So we'll see more of that, I'm sure. And then they closed off with Assassin's Creed Revelations. They showed like the trailer, which I've put on our Facebook page.
Sweet.
Looks awesome. Looks amazing. Showed off a bit of the gameplay, and I have to say, graphically, it looks much, much better than the previous installments.
Really?
I was talking a few weeks ago about like the mocapping and the faces and everything.
Yeah.
It's not quite as good as LA Noire. There's definite improvements on like the animations and everything. Everything sort of moves and goes better. They showed a bit where, gameplay-wise, in the actual demo, you had to kind of escape on a ship, but they blocked off the harbour.
Yeah.
So you kind of like had to go in, sort of do your thing, get rid of the chain so your boat could do. So it showed like a bit of the gameplay of how you go in, and showed a little bit about the bombs and all that, because I think that's a big thing, is like the bomb crafting, but they didn't really go into great detail. And then they showed you just burning down every single ship in the harbour just so you could get out with a flamethrower mounted on the front of a boat, which, back in the 16th century, early 16th century, it was
pretty hardcore.
Yeah, pretty ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But, it looked amazing.
I will have to check this out. I am interested. I've still got Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood to play through, and then this one that comes out.
Yeah, I did, like I said, a little while ago, I started playing through them all again. I'm about halfway through Assassin's Creed 2. Now, I've got other stuff to play, but I will go back to it, and I will try and get through that and Brotherhood again before this comes out. But no, I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Awesome. So that wraps up Ubisoft then.
Yeah.
So 3 down, 1 to go. Overall, so much has been done. This is why this first show is going to be ridiculously long. We're over an hour into it already, and there's probably about another hour's worth to talk about. So we're going to move on to Sony, who had so much stuff to talk about. Now, first of all, start off with some ridiculous montages of games that just went on and on and on. And it was a bit over the top, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to be a Sony hater here, but, their press conference was fucking dull. Anyway, my opinion, obviously, but hey.
No, I think that's the general consensus. They showed off some good stuff, but it just seemed to go on.
It wasn't very concise. It was just too... No, but the thing is, they showed some stuff off, but then there was stuff they should have shown off they didn't.
Yeah.
And there's just, amongst the wheezing and fucking all the bullshit talking and stuff, you know, there was an apology. And that's the thing.
They opened up
They
with
had
it.
No fucking choice in the matter. There had to have been an apology, otherwise people would have walked out of that motherfucker.
Yeah, he came on stage,
Jack Trenton,
and he said, right, it's not the first time I've had to come on here with a big elephant in the room. And he addressed it.
They should have had an elephant, though, to be fair, would have made it funnier. But anyway, that's
kind of like sitting there in the front row heckling.
Just going,
like, boo!
Yeah. Oh, what, me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, they made an apology.
They showed, surprisingly for Sony, a little bit of humility.
Yeah, quite amazing. But he apologised about the whole PSN outage, the hacks and stuff, to the publishers, you know, the retail partners and the gamers, which is fine. You know, great. He addressed everything that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Then kind of turned it around a little bit to say how great Sony were, like you do. But there's an announcement of a Cinema Now deal.
Yeah.
Which who cares? We probably won't get that over here. Sorry, apologies, but some people probably care. It's another partnership deal.
I think I knew we wouldn't be getting that, so I just completely glossed over that.
Yeah. But let's hit this hard, because there's so much to talk about, and we don't want this show to be 3 or 4 hours long. Uncharted 3. Probably the one game out of this that I'm really excited for, that I'm probably never going to get to play because I don't own a PS3. I had one, I played the first Uncharted, loved it.
I still need to get through the second one.
Never got around to playing the second one. You know, third one looks great.
I will be picking it up when I've completed the first 2.
Yeah, you do that. So the gameplay demo, impressive as always, looked great. You know, great audio and visual as always. It's pretty much Uncharted. You know what you're going to get from Naughty Dog. Basically, they're going to do a multiplayer beta for June 28th, I think.
Yeah.
I think that was announced. There was a trailer. The game's going to be in 3D. There's so much. Sony are pushing 3D like a motherfucker.
Which we will get into.
Uncharted 3, the release date is the 1st of November 2011. And then they went on to talk about Resistance 3. So the guy from Insomniac came out to talk about Resistance 3. They did some demo, a gameplay demo. It looked better than Resistance 2 graphically.
Yeah.
Lots more going on screen. Not just visually, but action-wise, it looked all right. Yeah. I played some of the first one. I played a decent chunk of the second one. Didn't really like them, but this looked better to me. So
yeah. I have to admit, it's kind of like this. I'm sort of thinking, oh shit, if this is really good and I end up getting this and liking this, I'm going to have to play through the first 2.
Yeah,
and I know they're not as good. You're
not really missing out, in my opinion. But hey, once again, the game's going to be in 3D. It's going to have move support, which is cool. And there's going to be, on September 6th, I think, when the game comes out, there's going to be a special pack you can buy with, you know, attachments and stuff to make a gun. That kind of thing. You get the game.
It's the one that they shipped with Killzone 3, I think.
Yeah, pretty much. So there's that pack available. Then they went on to talk about how committed they were to 3D. Obviously, you know, that's pretty obvious because everything they showed was in 3D.
Yeah.
They announced 2 collections that were going to be in 3D. The God of War Origins collection, which is
the
PSP remasters, basically, HD and in 3D. God of War, Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. And the IK Shadow of Colossus also announced.
Sorry, that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, going to be in HD and 3D.
Supposedly September.
Yeah,
we'll see.
They reckon they've got more than 100 3D titles available for the PlayStation 3 platform, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
They're trying to make 3D more affordable, which is something they talk about by unveiling. This is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
Yes and no, but we can talk about this. The PlayStation branded 3D display, which is a 24-inch display. It's very PlayStation looking, so it go well with your, you know. I'm pissed that they don't do a bigger model of it.
Yeah.
Like 24 inch is fine for the student, or if you've got a small room, that's fine. They should offer a 40 plus inch version of it, I think.
I think maybe they'll see how this one does.
Yeah, true.
Do that.
Now, obviously, it does full 3D.
Yep.
You know, the whole side-by-side 3D stuff. But also, that comes pretty cool, comes into play quite nicely when you're playing co-op with a friend on the same screen. You don't need split screen. It does split the screen, but because it's side by side 3D, what it does is it actually gives you a full screen image for both people. So basically, what you get,
they're both looking at the same screen, but they're seeing 2 different images.
Exactly, yeah, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah,
but it won't be in 3D.
No.
You'll just get a normal 2D image,
Yeah.
but you still need the glasses.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's very important. I didn't really go into that, but obviously you can't have the side-by-side 3D of 2 3D images. Okay, you can have one side...
That'd be like
you can have the side
4D.
Yeah, you'd have the side-by-side image of one 3D image, but if you've got 2 separate images side-by-side, it's just 2 2D images. Anyway, now that's out of the way. Very cool, though. I really fucking like the ideas behind this. Yeah. Who the fuck knew Sony were going to unveil something this fucking cool?
I know. This I think is probably their big sort of surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. They're not only putting the actual set out, the display out quite cheap, at just under $500, is that they're also making the glasses cheaper. So the entry level to 3D is way cheaper, which is great. It's good. I'm glad that Sony are pushing this, but at the end of the day, they could, there's still a technology out there where you don't need glasses. That's what I'm waiting for. Hey, anyway,
me too.
$70 for a pair of glasses. Basically, if you buy the TV or the monitor, even you get a pair of glasses with it. You get a 6-foot HDMI cable, and you get a copy of Resistance 3.
Yeah.
So good if you own. You have to kind of own a PlayStation 3 first of all, really. But but like again, I kind of wish they did. Like a 50-inch display version, or at least a 42, whatever. So
screw it. Let's go for 70.
Anyways, so then we went to talk about the Move a little bit and show some stuff off there.
Yeah.
8.8 million units.
I want to just put in at this point. After that, they kind of peaked. That's kind of
they did very much peak.
It's all kind of downhill from there. I think that's maybe why they're all out of breath.
Yeah. For anyone who watched, they will know what we're talking about. Yeah. Some wheezing going on there.
3D. Oh, I'm done.
I'm spent. So, I was rotten. Okay. So they gave some statistics. 8.8 million units of Move sold already, and nearly 200 games that utilise Move. I'm not sure how accurate those are, but hey, fair enough. NBA 2K12 was demoed with Move support. Kobe Bryant came out and made a fucking hash of it.
Yeah.
Basically,
it's not realistic.
It's kind of like point and click adventure basketball.
Yeah.
That's
pretty what it felt like.
Which I thought was kind of funny. I cannot see people sitting there going, "Yeah, I'm playing sports," just clicking away.
You'd expect kind of like you think basketball game with Move. You think, oh yeah, like
exactly.
Like
but
lift the controller.
I'm just going to click on this player.
Right.
So
he needs to defend, so I'll click on him.
It just kind of seemed a bit of a joke, but people. I don't know. I'll say it well. There's October 4th is the release date for that. Now we've got
talking of jokes.
Yeah, we've got a little bit to talk about this here. Medieval Moves Dead Man's Quest. So this is another Move title. Comes out fall 2011, and I'll let you talk about this because I can see me going off on one here. Remember last year when they showed Sorcery, yeah?
This is this year's Sorcery.
I looked at that and I was like, really? This is the best you got, right? Not
they get all the kind of excited about it.
I don't want to become the Sony hater because they're doing some cool shit this year, which we'll get into, but, that 3D display alone's fucking amazing, but...
The amount of time they spent showing this off.
It just really didn't look that great.
And you could tell like the audience weren't that impressed either. It's kind of like this awkward moment when the demo was finished, and it's kind of like, do we cheer?
Let's just wheeze a bit more into the microphones, and people will think we're having heart attacks. Okay, so basically, Medieval Moves is a Move title. It looks very childish.
Yeah.
We don't need these kind of games. Well, we do, but if you're going to make a game childish, make it childish. If you're going to make a game for adults, make it an adult game. But it kind of... I don't know what they were trying to do with this. To me, it didn't work.
It just looked weird.
It just looks very strange. Explain what it is, because I don't want to waste more.
It's kind of like a first-person thing, like gestures and whatever you do with the Move controller.
Third-person, which goes and snaps into first-person, depending on what weapon you're using.
But when you're third-person, you don't actually see the person that you're playing.
You do occasionally, depending on how the camera angle is. Yeah. It's very strange.
But basically, gestures you do with the Move controller, like change what attacks
swords
you're doing
and things
bows
you can throw and and you're fighting off skeletons. You're a skeleton. There's puzzles.
Yeah.
Were they puzzles? James? I don't think so. No. Whatever. Anyway,
not impressed.
They showed that. No one really batted an eyelid. Infamous 2, a big trailer for that. The game's out now in the US.
Yeah.
Comes out later this week. You're getting it, aren't you?
My copy has been dispatched.
Sweet. Okay, well,
we'll talk about it on next week's show.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
still haven't finished the first one.
Guess what? Me support.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, because they did the whole thing, the user-generated content, because you had the side missions in Infamous, which I'm playing through at the moment, and they get like giving you the ability to make your own and all that.
Yeah.
And what they've done here is they're adding move support into that, so it's easier to navigate. It's more like a mouse controller
Yeah,
for
you can
make it easier to
build stuff,
point
yeah,
stuff,
okay.
which is cool. You know what?
You'll use it.
When the update comes up and that's put in there, I will be doing that.
Yeah. Sweet. All right, cool. So basically, just a general trailer. The game's coming. There's no that's going to show it off because at the end of the day, the game is literally released.
But this move compatibility is not coming for.
Yeah, it's an update.
But it's coming in autumn.
Yeah,
or the fall.
Well, speaking of move updates, Little Big Planet 2 is getting an update for Move as well.
Yeah, again in September.
Yeah, just kind of. It's more to kind of for the user generated side as well. Again, creating more move support for those side of things. And,
These are both games that I've got, both games that I've been playing, and I will be probably utilising this when the update comes out.
Indeed.
And I'll be telling everybody how it is.
Okay. So here's something that Sony were pretty good at, was announcing a game, showing a trailer, and then moving on. Microsoft did do that a few times. Starhawk, which we spoke about last week, is the sequel to Warhawk.
You know what, actually?
Looks okay.
Looks alright. My immediate thing, first thing I put down, is the big sort of plus point for me. Western in space.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong, that sounds cool, but it's all. It looks okay. We didn't really see anything. It's a CG trailer, but at this point, who cares? If I'm honest, show us some gameplay, make us, show us why it's worth getting excited about.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. There's some CG trailers that do get you excited, but this, to me, it's just.
I will be keeping an eye on because it's a game that I've heard good things about Warhawk, but I jumped on the PlayStation bandwagon a bit late for that. So I
played some of it. It was pretty. I thought it was quite awful, but there you go.
Yeah,
I played some of it. I didn't think it was that great.
We'll see how this goes. I'll keep an eye on it and see how it turns out and form an opinion later. Now, back thing. This game, next game they announced, has a lot of fans. The originals, they were made by Sucker Punch, who are the people who did Infamous and all that. It has a really big sort of cult following. It was sort of family friendly, but the hardcore gamers kind of enjoyed it. That's Sly Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like did the whole open world thing, travelling around and all that. And they've just announced a new one, Thieves in Time.
Yep.
Which, you know what? I think it's awesome. I'm going to go on the record and say that. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this.
Okay,
I didn't see anything of the game.
Yeah,
it's just a trailer.
Once again, a lot of trailers and stuff. Okay.
I imagine it'll probably do like the whole open world thing, and obviously HD of this generation is going to look pretty good. But I know a lot of people have wanted a Sly Cooper game since the PlayStation 3 first came out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that they're now doing that has got a lot of people excited. A lot more people than I think you personally, Dan, realise.
Probably.
Very excited.
You're one.
There you go. I'm one up, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. And then they showed off Dust 514.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what to say about this. I genuinely do not know what to say about this.
It looks kind of like they're trying to be Halo.
It's basically... Now, it's an FPS, from what I can gather. It's compatible with EVE Online,
which is a online strategy game on the PC.
And there's some crossover there.
Yeah.
There really wasn't much explanation as to how the fuck that worked, but,
You know what? In EVE Online, you're in space, you deal with planets and all that. I have a feeling that there could be like wars going on the planets, and maybe the outcome of the PlayStation that can affect like what happens. Yeah, possibly.
That would be kind of. I mean, it's a cool idea.
The scope of it is idea, but
they didn't say anything about it. So
no.
There's a bit of gameplay, a trailer or something. I don't know.
So it looks a lot like Halo.
Yeah,
really.
There's gonna be a beta for it. Some people will probably get behind this and get really excited. I just did not think it looked that amazing. I think it looked pretty generic.
See, the fortunate thing for me, being a PlayStation Plus subscriber, is all like the betas and stuff and anything. I will probably get on and have a go at.
Yeah.
So I can have a more informed opinion about it. But it's one I'll look at and see what it is. It's not high on my radar, but I will keep an eye on it and see what it's like, because it does kind of intrigue me a little bit. But
speaking of something that's intriguing, now to me this is a shocker. right?
This was.
Yeah, so I'm a big Bioshock fan.
Yep.
I worship Ken Levine, the ground he walks on. No, I like the guy. He talks sense. He knows what he's one of these kind of not so much rock star game producers, but he's more one of the more famous ones, and like he's made some cool games, and knows what we're talking about, and has a real passion for making great quality games with decent stories. And there's a trailer for Bioshock Infinite which showed off a little bit more gameplay and stuff that some parts we'd sort of seen, stuff we hadn't.
Yeah.
Not unveiling too much.
More stuff is good.
Yeah, and then Ken Levine came out on stage, kind of gave the spiel about how he was dissing on the whole move and the motion control thing.
It's kind of ballsy for a Sony press conference.
Yeah, and then basically got talked into the challenge of adding move support to Bioshock Infinite. Not directly, but that's kind of the challenge they took on. And so, therefore, Bioshock Infinite is going to have move support of some description.
Yeah.
No idea as to what exactly that is. No real demo of any of that, because I'm guessing it's not really up and running. And then the most random thing in the world. Oh, by the way, we've got this other pet project that we've been thinking about for the last 2 years. Guess what?
In the Bioshock universe.
Set in the Bioshock universe, and guess what? It's going to come out on the NGP. Sorry, I'm thinking of something else there. The NGP,
which was named later on.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, so they're working on a project for the next generation portable for Sony, and Bioshock based. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
For people that may pick that up, which is not me. So,
yeah,
a little bit jealous.
Yeah,
a little bit, not much, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes, because it could be really, it could feel tacked on. Knowing Ken Levine, if he's up for it, it probably won't be.
No, he will make it work. If he's behind it now, it means obviously he was impressed. I mean, like I said, I have a move. Overall, I don't have enough games for it, but from what I played, the games I played, it's pretty solid bit of kit. I mean, it's feels a lot more solid than the Wii controllers.
Yeah.
There's a lot more there. So I have a feeling that they could probably utilise this quite well.
Well, the other announcement that was made was pretty much that when you buy Bioshock Infinite, you'll get Bioshock 1 as an exclusive on the PS3 and the Blu-ray disc.
On the same disc, yeah.
So that's cool for people who want to buy Bioshock Infinite on PS3.
Get you know games. What? I was probably going to buy it anyway. I'll probably get this, because I need to play through the first one.
Indeed. So that's awesome. Great news if you're PS3 owner. Not so good for me, but hey, I'll be happy just to play the Bioshock Infinite game.
Yeah, you have the first one. The overall game, I don't think will be that different. It's just, I have a few more gimmicks.
Yeah.
Which you probably wouldn't play a whole game.
I probably wouldn't be that bothered about. Maybe we'll see. Depends how it was done. If you get it, I'll play it and see how it pans out. But then a strange, quick, brief glance over the fact that Saints Row the Third is going to have move support, and it's out on November 15th.
Yeah.
They literally just said, "Hey, guess what? Guess what else is getting move support? Saints Row the Third, November 15th," and then moved on to something else.
Yeah.
So
there's also going to be getting like a whole host of exclusive content and stuff.
Yeah.
This is kind of like when they talked about all the exclusive content and stuff that's coming to the PlayStation.
So, speaking of that, Star Trek.
Yeah, it's going to be a movie tie-in, isn't it?
Movie tie-in with...
They didn't specifically say it was a movie tie-in. They said, the people who made...
It's coming out at the same time as the second Star Trek made by J.J. Abrams. It's a fucking movie tie-in.
Precisely.
Right, anyway. So Star Trek, the movie tie-in game for PS3, is going to have move support. There's also going to be a phaser peripheral that you can plug your fucking move jobby into. Blah-de-blah. Awesome. Pretty cool for the geeks out there.
Yeah, it looks kind of like a third-person shooter type.
It's going to be in 3D, and there'll be a prequel downloadable title for PSN.
Yeah.
Sort of a bit before, obviously, the game comes out next summer, I'm guessing. So
you know what? I might get the trial of that to see how it is.
Yeah.
But, I'm not going to hold my breath, but even though I am a Star Trek fan, and I love the J.J. Abrams film, it's a movie tie-in. I'm wary.
You should be. It's kind of cool. They're doing some very cool exclusive stuff, but what is interesting is they're doing some exclusive content for games that aren't solely for their platform, that are, multi-plat games, and SSX, which we talked about already.
Yeah.
EA did some pretty cool exclusives. The first one's SSX, PS3 only. You're going to get an extra kind of level, which is Mount Fuji in Japan.
Japan, obviously.
Fucking cool.
Yeah.
Need for Speed The Run is going to have 7 extra supercars on the disc,
including the Bugatti Veyron.
Yeah. That's cool. That is cool. That's good shit. And the PS3 version of Battlefield 3 is going to ship with Battlefield 1943 on the actual disc as well, so you get 2 games for 1.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, EA do a lot of that, like with the whole Dead Space 2, you got, Dead Space Extraction, all that kind of stuff. That's pretty cool.
What surprised me is normally, because obviously we have the Assassin's Creed big sort of info thing at Ubisoft and all that. That's tend to be sort of very heavily biased towards the PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
By no way was the PlayStation version the better version, because I know a lot of people who've had like experienced bugs and stuff with the PlayStation version. It wasn't present with the Xbox, but there's always had like that trend of exclusive content for that.
Mm-hmm.
You'd think this would be the time where they would announce some of that, but there hasn't seemed to be any kind of announcement of exclusive content, especially considering it's out in November, which isn't that far away, really.
Yeah. Okay, so,
we'll see. Maybe they've kind of like lost the exclusivity thing, and there won't be any exclusive content, and all the content will be available for all, which is what I'm hoping for.
Should be that way in a way, but hey. Excuse me. Right, so let's get cracking. They announced a thing called PlayStation Suite, which isn't it's not as sweet as it sounds, but it sounds sweet. PlayStation Suite.
Sweet in Hotel Suite.
Yeah, it's basically the announcement of PlayStation content on various devices that are compatible with that kind of thing, such as...
Sorry, I'm just thinking about PlayStation Suite. To suck on it. Tastes like bullshit.
Tastes like wheezing. So basically, any tablets, phones, and things like that. Anything that's kind of going to be able to run certain things, and not that interesting. There's so much talk about. Oh, we brought out the PSP, and then we did blah, blah, and you know where it's going. Shut the fuck up.
And then it was a truck. And then it was a robot, and it makes a noise. Boo doo 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 doo.
But they basically announced that the next generation portable, which we've been talking about for weeks and months on end, is now called the PlayStation Vita. Which basically translates life. Yeah. So this break,
as I speak Latin, I knew that.
This news break. Fucking like a week ago anyway, so it's quite a cool device.
It does look...
It looks like a PSP with extra buttons, and it's got touchscreen,
touchpad at the back.
Yeah, 6-axis and all that, and it's got touchpad on the back. All that kind of,
which I think that when they showed,
let's be honest, right?
Quite well.
Let's be honest, right? As the device goes, cause let's just talk about it as a device really quickly. Like, they're cramming so much in there, like so much stuff. You've got a device like the iPad. It's a touchscreen device, or you've got just your normal handheld with there's buttons. The DS has got that kind of touchscreen and button mashup, but like at the end of the day, you've got the PlayStation Vita, where the fuck how you want to pronounce it. It throws everything in there, so you've got combinations of things. You don't have to play a game a certain way, which I think was quite cool, and they actually demonstrated this really well with Uncharted 3.
Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Yeah, that's the one.
Which I have to say, graphically looked
kind of cool.
Very nice.
Yeah, I was shocked. Yeah. So
it's like the fact that they were playing it with the buttons, and then they'd like tilt the controller, which would make you lean there, and then just tap
you can tap
into it.
You can tap on weapons to pick them up.
Literally, you could just maul the thing. Literally, just kind of like knead it in your hands, or whatever, and you do stuff. It's weird.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I think this is their last hope at a successful handheld. So why not throw everything you've got at it tech wise? Fucking just ram that shit in there, and but use it. Use it wisely. And I'm actually, for once, I'm going to go on record and say I'm actually quite impressed.
Yeah, I have to admit, we've been kind of dissing all this and all that, and I think especially when we talk later about the price point, and everything, it's looking like they really, really are
trying now. Because really they know they're fucked otherwise.
Yeah.
Last chance of a successful handheld. So obviously you've got PSN integrated in there and support there. There's it's got Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi and 3G model, so you can use it on the go.
Yeah.
2 cameras. They announced that AT&T was the US carrier for the the sort of mobility side of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be announced for like other territories and stuff as well, and the pricing and stuff like that. You've got voice chat. You've got built-in microphone for that, or you can use a headset. They didn't show any of that, but I'm guessing it's like a Bluetooth headset you can use. So voice chat. There's a thing called Near, which is basically Street Pass.
Yeah.
And pretty cool, Demo Uncharted, Golden Abyss, a game called Ruin, which looks like
kind of like
Diablo.
a dungeon crawler. Yeah, Diablo.
Yeah.
Thing.
Exactly what I thought when I saw it.
Yeah, they did show something pretty cool. Which
the cloud save,
where you could play it on there. You could play it on your Vita and do it and save it, and then switch on your PS3, and there's like the PS3 version of that. Then carry on your save from there.
Very cool, very good idea. Seemed to work quite well.
I'd like it utilised in other games.
Yeah. The other thing is though, the game looked okay.
Yeah.
Didn't look amazing. Some of the things, some of the ideas are great that they're doing. Like the idea of, you know, going up against another person who has a dungeon, and they work on that, and you know, depending on how well they're doing, it's harder to get into their dungeon, etc.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool. And there's Twitter and Facebook integration, all the social bollocks that everyone's adding to their games nowadays. But that cloud save stuff's really cool. The only thing is, like, how good does it look on PlayStation?
I imagine it'll probably look a bit like an arcade game.
Yeah, it's going to be downloadable, I presume. Like, if you buy it for this, you get the code to download it, so you can have it on both, so you get both. That's pretty cool. I like the idea behind it. I think cloud-based saves seem pretty cool. But then the thing is, like, what I'm going to say is, they made the argument, but if you want to sit down on your couch and play this game, the fucking Vita's got video out. There's a video out jack on it, so you could just plug this straight into your TV and play it anyway. I
like the little motion you did when he said Jack. It was interesting.
You know what I mean, though? It's like you can plug this into your telly anyway. So that's the point.
They're trying to get rid of wires.
No, I know.
Apart from the big 6-foot HDMI cable they're throwing with 3D display.
True. But anyway, Ruin, it looked alright. It's an action RPG. It looks a lot like
Diablo. This will be like first wave of games, everything. The ideas behind it's kind of like prototyping technology that will be able to carry on to other games and everything. They also showed like the stuff like Little Big Planet Mod Nation Racers and how that all kind of, you'll be able to share stuff with that with your PS3.
Well, the Mod Nation Racers stuff is kind of cool. They showed you how you could build your own tracks and deform the terrain and stuff. And exactly. Very cool.
Touchpads at the back.
Yeah,
where you like press on the back and the thing raises, kind of like you're pushing from underneath. That I found pretty cool. Obviously, it's a gimmick.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. They also announced that there's 2 million user-created tracks from the PlayStation 3. They are going to be available for the Vita version of the game day one.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Once again, not just user-created content, but user-created content on various different devices and all compatible. Yeah. They are being very smart about this.
Yeah.
Also
the Little Big Planet game as well. That looked fairly good because obviously
it looked like Little Big Planet.
Yeah,
but you can play. It's like touchscreen Little Big Planet. And stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's the one simple thing is like really really tiny and it's all right, but it's kind of like when I had all the characters. Because obviously they're playing like 4-player co-op on the Vita screen. Jumped into a basket. You use the touch screen to press the basket, pull it, and then catapult.
Yeah,
Angry Bird style.
Yeah.
And that to me is kind of like, that makes it slightly different. That adds some new things. And then when they showed that all like costumes and everything, all the stuff that you download for the PS3 version of Little Big Planet 2, you can cross over.
Well, because obviously your PlayStation Network account is compatible with this. You sign in with that. Everything you've got is pretty much going to be, if it's compatible with the Vita, it's going to be there.
Yeah. So
it's awesome. With the cloud saves and everything, it makes more sense. It just plays into everything that they've been trying to do all this time. Yeah. Very cool. So they showed Mod Nation Racers. They showed Little Big Planet, a bit of a trailer for that. They announced Wipeout 2048 and the fact there'll be 8-player over Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff. That sounds cool. No, nothing was shown of that. It was just spoken about.
Yeah.
Then
there was like a little trailer montage thing at the end where they showed a little bit of it. But.
Yeah. And then the announcement of Street Fighter Cross Tekken or X Tekken or whatever the fuck, however you want to say it. We've been saying Cross, but I guess it's X.
I think it is Cross.
Yeah. Anyway. There's a teaser trailer for it.
Yep.
And they've got it. They announced it.
The campus Japanese man I've ever seen in my life.
That was funny. Anyway, they've got it running on Vita, and it looks good. And they've got not only that, they've got a. I guess it's PlayStation 3 as well, exclusive. Playable Cole from Infamous.
Cole McGrath,
yeah.
Who looks nothing like him.
Yeah.
Except he's wearing the costume.
Yeah.
But no, running on Vita is interesting because it utilises the touchscreen as well to like pull off moves and stuff, and it looked kind of fun to play. Even though little camp Japanese guy, he wasn't he?
Hey, don't you know where we're big right now in Asia and stuff? So okay,
but he was funny. He made me laugh.
Anyway, So it's kind of cool.
He got his ass kicked at it. But
they announced that they're going to be showing it on PS3, and it was still an early build, but they've got it running on Vita, and it looked great. It looked fine. It runs really smoothly. It looks beautiful. Now, very impressed with Vita. Very impressed with the 3D display. Those are my two big things. And Uncharted 3.
Yeah.
Those are my picks out of the Sony press conference.
Yeah.
That were most impressive to me. The price point for the Vita, the Wi-Fi only model is $249 or euros. Yeah. It's exactly the same. And the 3G and Wi-Fi model is $299.
Which, you know...
is cheap.
Yeah.
It's about the price of the 3DS. Basically.
Extra $50 for Wi-Fi on the move.
It's basically going to be... Yeah, when you translate it to pounds, Great British puntiles, it's going to be pretty much on par with the 3DS.
Yeah. Which, just is surprising because a lot of people were speculating, it's going to be like $500 and all this and all that. And no, they hit like the sweet spot. I mean, it's...
it's still a lot of money to part with, but it's not too much.
No, you see it and you're thinking,
that's
you know what, I would part with that amount of money for that amount of stuff.
Yeah, because the quality's there.
Yeah.
So, very impressed with it. So we're going to be talking a bit more about that kind of stuff as the week goes on, but like I said, for me...
I'm fairly torn now. Yeah, because I wanted to get 3DS, but now I'm looking at this. I'm sort of thinking, 3DS is a good thing on its own, but I have a PS3 and there's lots of cross functionality.
That's quite good though. You're doing some interesting things. Anyway, so
who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, I know. So out of all 4 press conferences, I think there's so much information for day one. This is our first of our 3-part podcast.
Don't worry, folks. The other 2 won't be this long.
No. So there's a lot to cover. I mean, we're going to be covering Nintendo's press conferences later. We'll be talking about that tomorrow on tomorrow's show.
Yep.
And various other little things. And then, like I said, on the last day, we are going to be talking about the individual games, what we've been impressed by the most, what we think is the most amazing stuff to come out of E3 this year, and just kind of wrap things up in general.
Yep.
But before we go for this episode, I just pretty much said it. Uncharted 3... The 3D TV, the display, and the Vita are my three most impressed with, things I'm most impressed with as far as the Sony conference goes. What would you say, personally?
As far as the Sony goes, pretty much the same. Yeah. I mean, the Vita, I think, surprised me and shocked me quite a lot. Also, some of the move functionality coming to other games... All that, I was kind of impressed.
Don't get me wrong, it was a boring fucking press conference, if I'm honest. Yeah, because they didn't really show stuff off as they should have done. It was half the stuff they should have showed off was just talked about and announced and done. Then they talked at length about nothing important, and then they showed the cool stuff. And they should have really made it a bit more concise. But overall, not bad what they showed off. No. So I agree with you on that, and you agree with me on the whole thing. But as far as Microsoft's press conference, what do you think of the key sort of few things out of that you thought was impressive?
Well, mostly, and it's not even a exclusive thing to them, it's the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
That's the biggest surprise.
That, for me, exactly the same. Some of the Kinect stuff they were doing was cool. Yeah. I think Ghost Recon was a bit of a surprise that they were going full on with the playability with Kinect.
Yeah.
Not just a few gestures and using the controller to move around. They're going full on Kinect body movement. That for me could also be a bad thing, depending on how well it works, but that's something I'm willing to risk and try and take the chance on, because if it works, and other people will jump on board and do this, so that's good.
Generally just kind of like Kinect functionality as well, like the whole the dashboard update and things like that, making it more integral.
Yeah, and I think the Fun Lab stuff looked pretty cool as well. I mean, not at all useful, but just a good time waster,
Yeah.
So other than that, I mean, yeah, great stuff. I mean, you're happy with the Mass Effect 3 stuff that you got to see?
I watched all like the extra demos and stuff, and sort of online they kind of showed like the very sort of beginning of the game, not the very beginning, but one of the opening bits of it, and you saw more of the scale and everything. And I'm so excited.
Well, at the moment, right now, I'm happy with Tomb Raider, like we mentioned. I'm happy with the announcement of Far Cry 3, which I'll check out in a bit. And the Ghost Recon stuff, Bioshock stuff. Battlefield 3 looking good, and what I've seen in Modern Warfare 3 is fine, but not blowing me out of the water. So at the moment, but we'll crack on.
Which is good since you spend most of the time in the water.
Yeah, okay. I knew you were going there. Okay, well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this show. So thank you very much for bearing with us and listening to us for the last hour and a half plus. And
there's been a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's been so much stuff to cover. It's been hard to cram it all into one show, so we have glazed over a little bit of it. But
I'm surprised we managed to fit in as much as we did.
Yeah, we did kind of skim it, but hey. We'll be back tomorrow with more information about... Well, we're going to be pretty much talking about
it's potentially going to be the biggest one.
Yeah, because they're actual console unveiling. So the Project Cafe, we get to find out what that is later on, and we were talking about that tomorrow. So you can, this time tomorrow, pretty much check out iTunes, and we'll be a shop about the same time tomorrow, and we'll be talking about that primarily, and a few other bits and pieces as well that'll be unveiled. And then, like I said, the last show of the week on Thursday, the third part of our E3 2011 special, we are going to be
exclusively talking about the games.
Indeed. And then, Ren wrapping things up. So thank you very much for listening, and we will be back tomorrow. Please check out our Facebook, because we've put up a lot of trailers and stuff. And
I was up until the early hours of the morning putting trailers up.
Yep. So check that out for up-to-date info and stuff. And, that's facebook.com/Games4all podcast. We're on Twitter, twitter.com/Games4all. And also, even though we don't have promos for them, check out our friends over at the Underground Geek Network. That's undergroundgeeknetwork.com. They've just put out episode 14. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I'm sure it's amazing, as always. And, check them out. Awesome guys, and great show. And we are going to be back tomorrow. You thought you had enough of us over the last hour and a half? Well, that's, you haven't got rid of us that easily. So we'll be back tomorrow talking about Nintendo. So thank you very much, and hope you've enjoyed what we've heard, our E3 coverage so far, and back tomorrow.
We certainly have.
Yeah, it's been awesome, and more news tomorrow, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
For more episodes of the Games4all podcast, check out our website, www.games4allpodcast.com.
You can also follow us at twitter.com/Games4all, or check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Games4all podcast.
The Games4all podcast is brought to you in association with HostGator. For all your web host needs, check out hostgator.com.